Today we're talking about the FEELWORLD F5 Pro. But first, if you're new to the channel, my name is Anson, and on this channel we talk about filmmaking, specifically budget gear, tutorials, and a behind the scenes look at the projects I'm working on. So if that's something you're into, consider subscribing. Now I do want to mention that I did request this monitor from FEELWORLD. I'm actually a longtime FEELWORLD user. This is my trusty FEELWORLD MA5, and I've been using this thing for a few years now. So this was a much needed upgrade to get the F5 Pro. As always, I'm not really going to go over the specs of this monitor, but I will do the obligatory put the specs somewhere on the screen so you can pause it, read over it, and let me know if you have questions. Now, I'm not trying to make this video super long, but there's a few different things I want to address. I first want to talk about my pros and cons. I also want to address the fact that I basically turned this into a first AC wireless follow focus unit. So we'll talk about what I'm using to get that done. And then we're also going to talk about my overall thoughts and who do I think this would be useful for. So without further ado, let's start off with my pros. And my first pro is price. This monitor is packed with features, and everything that you get comes at $140 or $170 if you want the version that you can load up LUTs onto the monitor, which I'm actually reviewing here. This is the LUT version of this monitor. It was only a few years ago where monitors like the small HD were the only budget-friendly options that had the ability to load LUTs onto the monitor. Having the options to load a LUT onto a monitor that's $170 is amazing. So this is a game changer. And that leads me into my second pro, which is the fact you can load LUTs onto this monitor. When I'm not trying to be super minimalistic, I love using this monitor with the Sigma FP because I can load a LUT onto the monitor, which I can't do on the FP itself. Now the Pocket 4K I can load LUTs onto, but the FP I can't. I've actually created a LUT for the Sigma FP that I put on this monitor that takes the normal video feed and converts it over to a Blackmagic film. Now obviously that's not baked in, but it is displaying in a Blackmagic film. And so I can see what the footage would look like when I do my color space transformation in DaVinci Resolve, which otherwise I kind of have to trust that I'm exposing everything correctly and hope for the best in post. But that LUT on this monitor actually gives me the ability to see what Blackmagic film would look like with my Sigma FP footage. Now a bonus for you is I'm actually going to be including that LUT in the description below, so you can follow the link to download that LUT if you actually want to load it up onto a monitor. So Merry late Christmas. And so being able to use LUTs with this monitor is a huge pro for me. Now again, that is with the $170 version of the monitor, not with the base model that's $140. So keep that in mind. Now the next pro for me is the fact that it is a touchscreen monitor. That is one thing that I wish the MA5 had, was touchscreen. With the MA5, you didn't have the touchscreen, so you had to fiddle with the buttons at the top here, which the F5 Pro still has, but it also has full touchscreen capabilities. And it does have different gestures too. If you swipe up from the bottom of the screen, you can do some fast menu options. If you double tap on the screen, you can bring up your full menu options. If you move your finger on the right side of the screen up or down, that controls the output volume of the monitor. And if you do that on the left side of the screen, that will control the overall brightness. So there's a couple different touchscreen gestures that you can do with this monitor, which makes using it really simple. And again, you do have pinch to zoom, which is even better. I actually used this for that field shot I did on my last video, and being able to zoom in to see that little speck of Anson on the screen was really helpful just to make sure I was in focus, even though I was infinity focus, but just to double check. Oh no, I lost my light. No. Now my last pro is somewhat unique to this monitor, and that's the fact that there is basically a dummy NPF battery on the back of the monitor. So you can actually plug devices that hold an NPF battery on the back of the monitor and have them mounted on the back of the monitor. And it charges that device while it's in use with the NPF battery that you're using for the monitor itself. What? This is one of the things I didn't realize I wanted, but it makes it so much easier to create a handheld follow focus system like this, because this is a Hollyland Mars 300 Pro, and because the Mars 300 Pro uses an NPF battery to power it, I can actually mount it to the back of this monitor, making a very sleek follow focus system. Now I have the Mars 300 Pro, but you can also do lights that hold an NPF battery, and so the possibilities are kind of endless for anything that would normally hold an NPF battery. This is one of those things that I don't know if people are asking for, but it's brilliant. I love it. So those are some pros for the monitor. Now, what are my cons? Now, my first con is more of a nitpicking con, and that's the fact that the bottom quarter 20 on this monitor For some reason, I couldn't attach my small rig tilt and swivel to the monitor, and so I had to use the supplied bracket, which is actually really nice, and so I'm okay with that, but I would have liked to use my small rig tilt and swivel. The other con for me is the overall experience of loading LUTs onto the monitor. While it is a huge pro that you can load LUTs onto the monitor, there's not really a tutorial, either paperwork, or really much information online on how to load the LUTs onto the monitor. Now, the monitor does come with a supplied USB to USB-C adapter, so you can take a USB drive and plug it into the monitor, but it's not clear on what type of drive you need to use. And on top of that, I wish it actually came with its own drive so you can easily load LUTs onto the monitor. I finally had to buy a small USB drive to load the LUT onto the USB drive and then plug it into the USB-C adapter, then into the monitor. At that point, it did pick up the LUT, but buy a dedicated flash drive, and that will definitely get you to a point where you can load the LUT onto the monitor. So again, those are more nitpicking cons. Other than that, I have really enjoyed using this monitor. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about my rig for this follow focus system. I may do a deeper dive on this so I can talk about the components individually, but again, I don't really want to make this a super long video. So we're gonna talk about it really quick. Obviously, the cornerstone for this rig is the F5 Pro. Basically, that controls pretty much everything. That and the Nucleus Nano. Now, I just got done making a rig video where I said, I don't use the Nucleus Nano anymore. This has made me start using the Nucleus Nano again. So this is controlling the Nucleus Nano, which is obviously on my Pocket 4K. A little bit of a tidbit, if you want fully remote with your Pocket 4K, buy the start and stop cable from Tilta for the Pocket 4K so you can do the record option on the Nucleus Nano. I think that is the final straw. I am finally going to review the Nucleus Nano and talk about how I'm using it and best practice there. So look for that video. And then I'm also using the Mars 300 Pro. Basically, that's transmitting the video feed from the Pocket 4K or Sigma FP if you're using this for an FP to the monitor. And again, that's being powered with the NPF battery that's going through the monitor. So that's really awesome there. I'm using a short HDMI cable between the monitor and the Mars 300 Pro. And to mount all of this, it's kind of a makeshift system. I'm using a top handle from Small Rig. Now, normally where I would mount the top handle to the cage of the camera, I actually have a cheese plate, and then I just simply have a cold shoe mount on the bridge between the handle and the mounting system where the follow focus is. So that's my first AC follow focus setup. Again, kind of a quick look, but I will try to do a little bit deeper dive in a future video talking about the Nucleus Nano in this entire setup. So stay tuned. All right, so between the pros and the cons, what are my overall thoughts and who would I recommend this for? I'll be honest, I'm kind of hard pressed to figure out who I wouldn't recommend this for. If you're on a budget, you need a dope monitor, this is absolutely the one I would look at. This MA5 was more expensive than this monitor when I originally bought it. And so the fact that this monitor is available and it has all the features that are packed into it at a price point of $170 or $140 if you're not really wanting LUTs. And so honestly, in my opinion, I think this is absolutely the best budget monitor you can get right now. So absolutely, hands down, if you're looking at a budget monitor that has some dope features, check out the FEELWORLD F5 Pro. So that's it for me. As always, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like. If you're digging the overall content from the channel, consider subscribing. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life, especially in 2021. Let's make 2021 just seem like 2020 never happened. Sayonara. Peace out 2020. And so with that, stay safe, be happy, support each other, wash those hands, and I'll see you here next time. Peace.